What's up, everyone? This is the Osmo.com NHL Hit the Ice show, and we are finally back with a real slate, 8 games to talk about tonight. And I'm here joined by Nolan Kelly, the line change king. Nolan, how are you doing?
What's happening?
Yeah.
I'm excited for a full slate here.
Yeah, it feels like forever, right? It's been 8 or 9 days, maybe 10 days since we've had a real slate to talk about. So enough of these 2 and 3 gamers for now, at least until next week. Then the schedule gets pretty unbalanced. So
What's
enjoy it
next
while it
week
lasts.
looking like?
I know for the next couple weeks, Slim Cliffy, actually, Michael Clifford, he tweeted out something maybe earlier this week, saying that there's like no slates with between 4 and 12 games for like a 2-week stretch after this weekend. So really tough. Yeah,
That's all right. Maybe next show we'll dig into like some strategy you can use for the for some of these 2-game slates, because I'm thinking I've just been noticing some of the elite players like doing some creative stuff to kind of differentiate their lineup. So maybe we'll look into like Dollar Bill or like some of these guys that seem to be winning these large GPPs and like how they're constructing their lineups, and then maybe we can take that angle if we don't have a lot of games to talk about.
Or even Alex, Osimo, Tom, Eddie, like all the guys that are site too. We could take a look at those guys. So we should actually start doing more of that, especially on the 2 gamers. I can just share my screen and we could go through like Cruncher and just see if there's like anything weird that we're seeing or anything out of the ordinary, I guess. That would be a pretty good thing to do, I think, for like 2 and 3 game slates, because I think people just get a little bit lazy, and we probably get a little bit lazy on those slates. So yeah, definitely be a good thing to look at. 8 games today. You got anything off the top? Anything that jumps out to you as far as ownership goes? There's probably 2 spots that I'm looking at that are going to have pretty hefty ownership. What about you?
Are you thinking Pittsburgh, obviously, and are you thinking Buffalo or Buffalo? Yeah,
Buffalo. What was the other one that you were going to say?
Calgary.
Calgary
won.
I don't think they're going to be very popular. Am I wrong about that?
I would assume they're going to be somewhat highly owned, but not like I would say the 3rd, 4th highest owned line of the night. But I haven't actually done any line. I've been writing all day, so I haven't actually looked at the slate too much in terms of pricing. Are they priced up?
What's that?
Are they priced up today?
Calgary won?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they're 21K. So they're priced up for sure.
Highest priced line of the night by 2K on DK.
Yep.
And 24 on FanDuel, which is pretty high too.
Yeah.
So maybe you're right. Yeah, maybe they got a devaluation from Osmo, so I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they fall in that like 10 to 15 range.
Right. Yeah. So that's the thing, right, with them is that they're going to grade out well raw points wise, but value wise, which is what you're using when you put in an optimizer, they're not going to grade out as well as some of these other lines, especially Buffalo and Pittsburgh. So that's why I think we might see at least muted ownership, despite it being a really good spot there. Anything else before we get started going through game by game?
Just that we were talking a little bit on air. We'll get to this, I guess, when we get to these games. But I've just put out a word to DK Assist to try and figure out if it looks like Bukestad and McCann will play tonight. I'm not sure. I would guess that Brassard probably won't play, and I don't know. Sheehan probably doesn't matter. So, but if Bukestad and McCann play, it'll be interesting to see if they accrue points on DraftKings. They haven't put up that usual banner that says like so-and-so won't accrue points because they've been traded. So as soon as we get a message, or as soon as I get a note from them, we'll update in articles as well.
Yeah, definitely something to pay attention to, because those guys, I mean, could be decent plays if they were listed on the right teams. So a little bit confusing right now. Hopefully DK gets back to you on that. We can see if we actually could play these guys at low ownership.
Yeah, low ownership and like maybe unique line combos. Like definitely pay attention to those Pittsburgh lines before they during line rushes.
Yep. So Alex does not have his rankings out just yet.
He does. They're out.
Oh, they are out? They haven't refreshed on my screen. So maybe it'll take a couple minutes for them to refresh on my screen, or I'll just refresh it right now and see if anything shows up. Still nothing yet, but once we get the rankings, then we'll start referring to them. We've got the Blackhawks and the Buffalo Sabres, one of the chalkiest spots in the night, at least we think so. I think it's going to be Ward. We don't have the confirmed goalies up right now. Have you heard if it's going to be Ward and Hutton?
I haven't heard anything yet, which is surprising because they've had a week off.
Yeah, it's gonna be Ward.
Figure it out.
Ward and Hutton, they're both confirmed on daily faceoff.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, the goalies aren't really what we're interested in here. It's mostly Buffalo one here, and maybe the Chicago side. Do we have any news and notes we need to talk about before?
Yes. Actually, I think the Sabres side, just that Pominville's back in for the Sabres, and Palut is also back in, but he's not getting his usual power play time or skating alongside Ristolainen tonight. He's on the third pairing. So although he's cheap, he's not as good a value as he has been. So you might have to put the brakes on him a bit. And then I think the lines are the same for both teams. Just a reminder that Chicago 1 still has both Kane and Taves on it, and Caggiula, who's been terrible but is still getting ice time. So intriguing spots all around here, I think, especially with the Blackhawks hemorrhaging chances all over the place.
Okay. Yeah, that's the thing. So over the last 10 games, Chicago's given up the most scoring chances against per 60 and high danger chances against per 60. So right away, I was very partial to Buffalo 1 here, and it sounds like they're going to be chalky. That's fine with me on an 8-gamer. I don't know if they'll get to above 20%, so I'm going to come in overweight. They're looking like they're going to be my highest exposed line of the night. Full power play correlation, we know the Blackhawks have a really bad kill as well, so all that really adds up to me eating the chalk here with the Sabres, and just taking a pretty big stand on them. They're going to be my highest exposed in the night. Did you mention if you liked any Blackhawks lines? I'm trying to see if this lineup.
I mean, I think just because Chicago 1 gets so much ice time that they got a 35% share last game. So, and then also the other note I had that was that Buffalo 1 actually saw the highest 5v5 share I think I've seen all year. Maybe in the early days of that Colorado 1 line in the early part of the season, but they were 39% of Buffalo's 5-on-5 ice time last game. So Buffalo just relying on them a lot right now. I don't expect it to be that high. They got a home matchup, but Buffalo 1, I'm right there with you. I love Buffalo 1 tonight, and I especially love them as well because they've played in the last few days, and Chicago hasn't played in over a week. I'm kind of a believer in that. We saw that Buffalo lost their last game to Dallas, but the second of back-to-backs. But I still think, generally speaking, we've seen a few instances of these teams that are well rested not performing right away in their first game back. So yeah, that's my take.
No, it's a good point. I think you probably give a little bit of an edge to the team that's played recently, and Buffalo's got a couple games under their belt, so maybe they're in better game condition or whatever. But the Blackhawks are just bad all around. Now you get a rusty team that hasn't played in over a week. I just
100%.
Really,
just eat that chalk tonight. Just eat it.
If you're MMEing, I guess that's what I would do. So I'm not all that worried about ownership really for anyone outside of maybe Pittsburgh. But there you also have 2 lines as well you could use. So what about this Buffalo 2 line? They're getting some talk in some of these groups that I'm in.
It's probably just me pumping them up for no reason.
It's not just you. It's not just you. It's
they're not bad. They're getting a little bit more ice time. They're cheap, I think, is the reason, right? So they pair well with any kind of expensive stack. So I don't hate them as using them once or twice, for sure.
Yeah, I didn't end up with any. That's a lie. I ended up with 1 share out of 100 on my last crunch that I did before the show. So I wouldn't say that I'm on them. It's probably a good 5-on-5 matchup, but I just don't see myself really going to Buffalo 2 all that much. If I'm going to Buffalo here, it's all about that top line and that top power play. Kane and Taves are okay plays for me. I don't love it because I think they're going to see a lot of the Eichel line, and I expect them to not dominate possession, but have the puck on their sticks for the most part. Caggiula's cheap, and Taves is pretty cheap. So I guess it's, they're fairly priced. I'm also not getting to a lot of them, though. So it's really just Buffalo 1 in this game, and then Ristolainen. Anything else here?
No, I agree. Let's load out in Buffalo 1. Hope the chalk pays off.
Yeah, goalies here too. It's I don't want to use Cam Ward if I'm not forced to, and then Hutton is overpriced. I think Chicago. I don't see them generating a ton of shots here, so I'm kind of off both of these goalies. Next game.
That's fair.
We've got the Nashville Predators and the Florida Panthers. Let's see if I can get some totals here. 3.1 it looks like for the Preds, 2.9 for the Panthers. Looks like it's going to be UC Saros going up against Roberto Luongo. And what are you seeing here, Nolan, as far as news and notes?
News and notes. Well, I'm sure everyone's heard about that big trade that happened today. So we're not quite sure what the Panthers' lines are going to be because Bjugstad was on the second line. I know Daily Faceoff has Mike Hoffman on the second line. I haven't seen any confirmation from the beat writers yet, though. I think that's just guessing because it happened after practice or like in the middle of practice or something. So if Hoffman does go up there, then that's not a bad second line. I think like it's not a great matchup, but man, like Huberdeau, Trocheck, and Hoffman, that's a huge upgrade for them, but yeah, home to Nashville, so tough call. But I would expect, like, I don't know, like Brower's going to draw in, and I think Michael Haley on the fourth line, and then I would expect Sevier maybe to move up to the second line. Have you heard any confirmation on that at all? Or
yeah, I haven't heard much. Yeah, always difficult when they trade like right during morning skate. So yeah, I don't really know.
Daily Faceoff's guessing. But so I would say this is another like line change or line rush scenario where you can check it and find out.
Right. So good part about this is it's a 7 Eastern game, first game on the slate. So you're going to be able to know 20, 30 minutes before. And that's more than enough time to run your crunch again if you're doing that, or swap if you're just doing it by hand or on your phone or whatever. So I actually like the Trocheck line. Like I liked them with Bjugstad this morning. So it's going to change their price range a little bit going from Bjugstad to Hoffman, but that's obviously an upgrade on offense there that you get with Hoffman plus power play 1 tag there. And then I agree. I think it's just going to be a pretty talented line, at least offensively, the Trocheck line, if Hoffman does indeed slot up there. So that's what I'm hoping to see. I also like the Florida top line, and then I don't really like anything on Nashville's side. Are you on Nashville at all?
No, I'm not. Yeah, it's obviously a little scary just because Nashville one's been so good lately. But I guess I guess you could see a path with Florida's goaltending woes lately. You could certainly see a path to them scoring tonight. So I think as a contrarian play, they're certainly viable. But I'll probably be just like at weight or slightly underweight on them. Like, what do you expect them to come in at? Maybe 7% ownership.
The Nashville side.
Yeah, Nashville one.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be very popular. So
yeah.
Just like a line that's playing so well. Like I should be wanting to play more of them, but like just raw numbers wise, when I'm running through crunches and trying to get power play 1 quarterbacks in there, I'm not really getting to a lot of them. So
yeah,
it's a little bit worrisome. Maybe I end up jamming a couple Nashville lineups in there just because that line is so good. Johansson's cheap. But you really have to pay up for Arvidsson and Forsberg. And then the issue with that also is that they're going to see the Barkov line. So not a perfect even strength matchup, even though that line has been a little bit worse defensively with Vetrano up there, as you'd expect. So I'm kind of torn on Nashville here. Right now I'm not really on them, but if I do end up on them, it wouldn't be more than like 4 or 5%. So
also, I don't know what the Cruncher is reporting, but it looks like I thought Sissons was going to be on that second line, but maybe Bonino is back up to centering Fiala and Smith. If the Cruncher has that wrong, then that could be a slight advantage there. Just trying to get confirmation on that right now.
Let's see. I'm looking in chat. Cam Ward shutty tonight. I don't think so. Malgin. Yeah, Josh, that might be it. Malgin, you've seen him in a top 6 role at times this year. I don't know what they think about Bjorkstrom with Hoffman. I don't know what they're going to do. So
they've also moved Sevier up to that line before, but I think that was actually when Malgin was out. So
yeah. So who knows what the bottom 9 is going to look like for the Panthers. It's going to be Trocheck and Huberdeau with someone. So, I think they're going to be in play regardless. So hoping Nashville stays somewhat quiet in this game. Anything else here for defensemen or goalies?
No. I think that, just on the Florida side, I think Ekblad is a pretty good value on both sites. There's not a lot of value at the defense position tonight. I'm going to generally try to pay up as much as possible, which is hard because so many of the best lines are also expensive. But I'm going to try and get a Letang in as many lineups as possible. So Ekblad is probably my favorite kind of like, I guess it's not really a punt play, but just sort of in that lower price range. Still getting like 25 minutes a game, power play 2 time. Seems to be generating a fair amount of offense after a bit of a rough stretch there. So don't mind him at all.
Yeah, Ekblad's okay for me. I'm getting mostly to Yandel just because you get top power play guys on both lines for Florida, and I just have Yandel as an okay value for being 5K. He doesn't really do much outside of the power play, but if I like both Florida lines, I'm usually going to get to the top power play quarterback, and that is Yandel. What about Luongo at 7,400?
Definitely a contrarian play.
Yeah, I like him a little bit. I have like 12% of him right now. I think that's going to come in overweight. And that's not even me forcing in correlated goalies. So just as a value, I think he is one of my favorite low-price goalies, because I agree there's not a lot of value on D. So it has to come from somewhere, whether it's the forwards or the goalie, if you're not getting it from the defenseman. And I'd rather pay down for goalie if I can.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I don't really even have a lot of great value lines tonight. But we'll see. Maybe we'll get into that a little later. I don't know if you got.
No, I don't really have a ton of mid-tier. Yeah.
No.
So I don't know. We'll see. But let's go to the next game here. We've got the Lightning and the Islanders. Team totals here. It looks like Islanders are at about 3, maybe 2.9, and then 3.5 or 3.6 for the Lightning. Vasilevsky going up against Tomas Greiss. So it is incorrect on your screen. Something funky's going on with the lineup builder, I think. That's why you're not seeing the updated information, but we'll try to talk through all this. News and notes here, Nolan?
Nothing. Michael Dalcall was sent down for the Islanders, but he's back up. He was just sent down to play AHL games over the All-Star break. I think the lines are the same on both teams from the last game, but I actually didn't check the bottom 6 there for the Lightning. Just take a quick look. Yeah, it looks like everything is pretty much the same there.
Yep, I didn't see anything either, so I didn't know if there was something that I missed.
Watch the Tampa D. I don't know if they're switching things up again. Looks like, I think it's the same as last game. Oh, Colburn's back in, maybe? I don't know. Sergachev's playing, so that's all that matters. Dan Girardi's in.
This is one of those games I'm not crossing it off intentionally, but I'm just not getting to much of anything. So as you guys know, if you've watched the show, my projections really don't like Point, Kucherov, and Johnson all that much. I try to manually adjust when they have a good even strength line that I think they're going to get matched up with, and it's easier at home. Here, it's probably an okay matchup, whether they go up against the Nelson line or the Barzell line. I don't know exactly how it's going to go here, but I'm still not getting to a lot of Tampa 1 or really any at all. So that's worrisome, along with Nashville 1. I don't know where you're at here, Nolan.
Yeah, I just think this kind of, even though Tampa has a pretty high total, and the game itself is a 6.6, which isn't bad, I think that it's not coming up for me either, and I'm just wondering is this just a scenario where we assume the kind of the defense is going to cancel out the offense here? Both the Islanders have been pretty sound of late.
They've been awesome. I don't know. They've been really good defensively.
Yeah. So I'm kind of leaning towards just fading this game. I haven't. They did not come up for me at all. But then that scares me a little bit. So might have to put in some Tampa 1, just because they seem to be matchup proof. And again, we have a scenario here where Tampa has played in the last few days, and the Islanders are coming off super long break as well. So something to consider. Maybe they go under own, but then you look at the Islanders, they're giving up the least amount of fantasy points to centers this year, the second least to right wingers on FanDuel, and the third least to left wingers. So not exactly an enticing matchup here. I think your instincts there are probably pretty spot on.
It's just I think stacking against the Islanders hasn't been very profitable, and I think we adjusted pretty quick at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
So that was good. They've just done a complete 180, and we were talking about it in chat earlier today, going from the worst defensive team in the NHL to, they're still allowing a good amount of shots, but high danger chances and scoring chances, they're just funneling everything outward and just letting their goalies make easy saves. So they've just done a really good job, and I'd rather not target against them. I think Tampa 1 with the price reductions on really all their players, but Johnson especially makes it a little bit easier to fit in. I think they're going to come in around the same ownership as Calgary 1, and for me, that's a pretty easy stance for me to make, is to prefer Calgary 1 there.
Yeah.
What about any other lines in this game?
Any other lines in this game?
Yeah.
I'm I just think like the Islanders, like I'm just looking at their stats right now. They've allowed the least amount of shots against over the past 10 games and the fifth least amount of high danger chances against. So, and then from the whole like I don't know. I'm not gonna target the Islanders just because I think that they're just because of that layoff and the fact that Tampa's pretty sound defensively as well. So I don't really have much to say about it, to be honest.
Yeah, it's really the power play here is the reason why you'd want to be paying for Tampa 1 or Tampa 2 for that matter, but they're a little bit cheaper as a whole, or actually quite a bit cheaper as a whole. So I just have trouble doing that when I don't like when a line's this expensive. Like we have with Tampa 1, I want a great even strength matchup and then at least a good power play matchup, or one or the other. I don't think it's a good 5v5 matchup for Tampa here. So I guess I'm on the fade Tampa train.
Tampa power play is amazing, but the Islanders penalty kill is 22nd in the league, and I'm just trying to look up how many.
So time shorthanded. Are you looking at that?
Yeah, they're 25th in time shorthanded,
yeah.
so
141
kind of mitigates that a little.
Under 3 per game, so hopefully they stay out of the box. I think we can get by here with the Tampa 1 fade. At least I'm hoping for my sake.
Bet the under.
Yeah, well, I just saw a huge total too, so I don't know what I'm missing here. But
at least from a DFS purpose, when you have both these, when you have a higher line totals and you have 2 lines on each team that can score, that's going to lower the equity or the upside of each of those lines, right? So
yeah, that's true.
At the very least, like you're not missing. It's not like a single line is projected for those.
Right. If it was Buffalo with a 3.6 total,
yeah, exactly. Buffalo's a 3.4 total, and that 50% of their offense is coming from their top line, right? So.
Right. Yep, that's a good point. What else? Anything else in this game? Defenseman? I don't really find much I like on either side.
Just Nick Leddy. Just make sure to get him into your lineups as much as possible.
Oh my gosh. $4,800 Nick Leddy in a bad 5-on-5 matchup.
That's ugly.
Yeah. Don't play Nick Leddy.
Islanders number 1 goals against average in the NHL this year, hey?
Is that right?
Number one goals against average in the NHL this year.
They've just been good defensively. There's no way around it.
It's the Trotz effect.
Yeah, so hope this one stays pretty quiet, because if it doesn't, then it's going to be a pretty quick log out for me.
Yeah.
Goalies here, I don't have a strong take on either one. I'd be more likely to play Vasilevsky, I think, but I'm still worried about the type of volume he's actually going to be able to see here.
Yeah, I think Vasilevsky's a nice one-off if you're not correlating.
Yeah,
because you can obviously stand on his head, and you might get him. You're probably going to get him at reduced ownership as well.
All right, Ottawa and Pittsburgh. We have. Let's see what the total is here.
Here we go.
Pretty big.
4.1.
Yeah, it looks like 4.1 for Pittsburgh, about 2.4 for the Sens. And let's start off with news and notes, then we'll get into our favorite lines here.
Yeah. News and notes, so we know about the trade. We're kind of expecting maybe Bjugstad moves to the center role and centers the third line for Pittsburgh with Hornqvist and Tanner Pearson, which is a little bit interesting. That would be my guess as to what happens, but it could be anything. On the Pittsburgh side, it looks like Pittsburgh 1 got a ton of ice time last game, even though Pittsburgh 2 was a lot better. Pittsburgh 1 got about a 33% 5-on-5 share, and Pittsburgh 2 was actually down to 18%. From a DFS purpose, obviously Pittsburgh 2 is cheaper, so Pittsburgh 1 is probably a little bit slightly worse play maybe, but I think they're going to be a lot chalkier, Pittsburgh 2. And then nothing to report on the Ottawa side, I believe.
Yeah, so
same one.
Yep. That's I think it was Colin White slides back in with
Colin
and Stone.
Yeah.
So Tierney down to the 4th line. It looks like. I think that is correct. All right. So this one here, it's kind of like one of these games the other night. Maybe it was the Pittsburgh game, on a short slate. So it's gonna depend. For me, I would like to have some clarity on who I think is gonna match with who, and I think it's going to be Crosby going up against the Duchesne line. If that's the case, then I really love the Crosby line. So it's one of those where it doesn't really matter for me for the Crosby line, because I'm going to like them regardless, whether they go up against White or Tkachuk, or maybe a little bit of, or the White line or the Duchesne line, or maybe a little bit of both. So I love the Crosby line here. I think the Malkin line's going to come in a little bit overowned.
Yeah.
And I hope we see Malkin going up against the White Stone Kachuk line, because that's one of my favorite values.
One of your favorite lines, just generally.
Yeah.
This season, and like with good reason. They're averaging a ton of high danger chances. Are you on? So you'd be on them again tonight?
Yeah. So I'm on them regardless. I just they're coming up as like one of my highest exposed lines, Ottawa 2. So that's like, I don't think I need to go that heavy to get leverage on the field. Like, I think they're going to come in at like 5, 6, 7%, maybe a little bit more. But I'm going to be over the field on Ottawa 2 regardless. It's just whether it's going to be like 12, 15 or like 20, 22%, where it's a lot of my night really rides on them, because I really love the even strength matchup that they go up against Malkin, and that's my inclination right now. So.
And I think that's a really good way to differentiate your lineups as well tonight, because I think a lot of people are going to avoid that full game stack. So if you want to put like some Pittsburgh 1 or Pittsburgh 2 with a Colorado, with an Ottawa 2, you're probably going to, like, I don't know. I think DFSers tend to shy away from game stacks like that. Do you, and like prefer not to? I don't know if that's your take as well.
So I don't force it in, but I'm okay with it. Right, if the rules allow it. So you just don't correlate your goalie. You don't have a rule in to correlate your goalie. That's all. Yeah, I definitely allow for some lineups to have game stacks and not worried about it.
And Pittsburgh, like, I'm just looking at their numbers. They don't look as bad as I thought they were, but there was a perception, I think, that they were really bad defensively on the road, especially for the last few games, the last 10 games. Obviously, coming off a road trip there, that they were out west, so that can be a little bit taxing on the team, but. I think that, if Murray's not standing on his head, they're definitely susceptible to giving up some goals, right? Like, it's not.
And he's played awesome as of late.
Yeah,
too.
Yeah, he has like a 945 save percentage or something in his last 11 games. So that's pretty much the X factor for the Penguins' defense. But if he's not playing well, then I think that Ottawa definitely has a chance to put up some goals here. Anyways,
I just think that specific matchup, and maybe two specific matchups. If they're going to avoid the Crosby line, which I really hope they do, I hope I'm right about that. If all of a sudden you see Crosby on Stone, White, Kachuk, and they're hard matching the first few shifts, like, I'm just considering Ottawa 2 done for the night, because I don't want any part of lines going up against Crosby if I can avoid it. I just don't know exactly how it's going to match, so I have to hedge here, and I'm ending up with a ton of White lines, lineups. But I'm also going to end up with like 5 or 6% of Duchesne in the event that I just get it flat wrong. And they end up going against Malkin most of the time.
The other thing to consider as well is, like, we saw before the break that Boucher was using his third line to go up against other teams' top lines. He did that against Colorado, the Pajot, Pajarvi, Smith line. With Pittsburgh having 2 top lines, that may not be a viable strategy for
and they won't get last change too.
Right.
Not being at home.
He's still. Oh yeah, that's right. It was at home. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, totally right.
So some coaches will still try to do that. They'll try to throw their shutdown line on, but it's just tough to do it on the fly. Whereas when you get a dead puck, then it's just way easier to throw. Like when you see Crosby go out there, or Malkin, Kessel, whichever line you want to match, or Colorado 1, you can just toss on your shutdown line.
Yeah.
So a little bit more difficult on the road here.
So are you going to be on Pittsburgh 1 and 2? You're going to be overweight, at weight?
Yeah, Pittsburgh 1, I think, for the full stack at least, probably not for Crosby. He's always twice the ownership of Simone, which I kind of like because I play the full stack. Yeah. So I guess I'm hoping that Simone or Gensel does most of the damage, at least the goal scoring if this line goes off. So that's the line I'm going to end up over.
You noted in chat, it was both on that 2-game slate. Even that 2-game slate, it was the pricing was really soft on there, but it was still Simone at half the ownership of Crosby and Rust at half the ownership of Malkin and Kessel almost. So pretty close to that. So that's kind of how you get away from that chalkiness, right? I think people really want to stack up that Pittsburgh power play.
Yeah, and that's fine. It just gets really pricey really fast if you want to use Crosby. So
The other thing I do like about Pittsburgh 1, I'm normally go straight to Pittsburgh 2. I don't know why. It's just probably a personal bias. But Pittsburgh 1, I think both Gwenzel and Crosby over the past 10 games are in the top 15 in the NHL in high danger chances created and scoring chances created. So they've been great. They're getting a lot of ice time. I think it's a smart, like, sort of little mini pivot to Pittsburgh 1 over Pittsburgh 2, because I think Pittsburgh 2 will be more owned.
I think there will be too. Just because you get two guys in the top power play, it's a really awesome power play matchup for the Penguins.
And they're just cheaper.
Seth notes in chat, one thing to consider is that Ottawa sucks. That is also true. So I'm not saying definitely don't avoid Pittsburgh, especially if you're multi-entering. I'm just kind of taking a stance on this top line, this Crosby line, and hope I'm gonna end up underweight on the Malkin line. I don't think there's any question about that. And then I like Ottawa too on the other side.
Yeah, sounds good.
Letang, you mentioned, is your boy tonight, 6,200.
Yeah, I'm just gonna try and get as overweight on the field as I can. I think he's getting a ton of ice time right now. He's in the 25 to 30 minute range for the last few games. Ottawa's giving up the most amount of points at defenseman. He's only 6,200. I'm gonna try and double the field on Letang tonight and get 70%.
Oh, I don't think it'll be 35. You don't usually.
No?
Maybe not. I don't know.
20, 28.
I feel like I'm always wrong on Pittsburgh, the ownership wise. I don't know.
I think they're going to be real popular tonight, but maybe you're right. Maybe 30%.
No, I mean, it does make sense too, right? Because you get, it's just an easy guy to throw in. If you're starting your lineup with Pittsburgh, especially with the Malkin line, if you're starting with them, it's okay, well, might as well have the power play correlation here with Letang. So maybe you're right. Maybe he does. He's probably going to be the highest owned defenseman on the slate.
Yeah,
I think that's
no doubt about that for sure.
I like one, maybe two guys ahead of him, actually. But
who do you like?
We'll get to him. It's in the next game. So,
nice.
Shabbat on the other side, 5,900. He's kind of my boy. He's been my boy for the season, but
too pricey.
He is pricey for sure. I'm still ending up with 15% of him, so I'm probably gonna end up overweight, just not as overweight on him as maybe I would have if this matchup happened 3 weeks ago. So he's slowed down considerably, but I still much prefer him over anything else Ottawa has to offer on the blue line. How about goalies here? You have the balls to go with Craig?
I think Matt Murray is probably the safest play of the night. The Pittsburgh Penguins are minus 240 favorites, and the next closest favorite are the Leafs at minus 180. So if in cash, I'd go with Murray. I'm gonna have a lot of him tonight and just go for the win. And then as well, just because Pittsburgh's allowing a lot of shots, they're allowing I think the 7th most shots in the NHL this year. So to me, there's there's enough upside and huge win equity. So he'll be the highest owned goalie of the night. He is expensive, but I like him as a play.
I mean, he's win equity. I guess he's fine. So I'm gonna have some Murray, but if he's gonna be the highest owned goalie on the slate, that's gonna end up with me being underweight. And then I said Craig Anderson. It's Anders Nilsson, and I'm just getting word. It looks like things are gonna be updated on the site. Oh, just as I say that, now everything's updated.
Nice.
So it is Anders Nilsson.
Also, if it's Anders Nilsson, throw some contrarian lineups in there. That guy can stand on his head. He's been his home road splits, I think,
he's got big road
ridiculous. Splits. So and it's happened before. I think it was the last time Pittsburgh played Ottawa. Pittsburgh was super chalk, and Nilsson might have been in Ottawa, but Nilsson stood on his head, and Pittsburgh did nothing that night. So definitely, if you're gonna go heavy on Pittsburgh, make sure you have a couple Ottawa lineups.
I guess the only way I would get to Anders Nilsson would be in a stack with Ottawa 1. I know the road splits. I'd rather just not mess with Pittsburgh. But
he's the kind of goalie you want. I just think he's either going to let in 6 goals. Maybe this is just bias, but he's either the guy who either lets in 6 goals or just makes 43 saves and lets in 1. Right? He's just such a streak goalie.
Sure. He does have, I guess, that kind of upside. He showed it a couple times this season, especially on the road, oddly enough. So who knows with these goalies?
I just got word from DraftKings as well. I haven't checked with FanDuel, but since both teams are involved in the same slate, if these players do end up playing tonight, they will accrue points.
They will accrue points. Okay, so Bukestad, that goes for Broussard, McCann, and then who's Sheehan. I know everyone wants to play some Riley Sheehan on the Panthers. All right, let's move it on. Next game, we've got the Calgary Flames and the Alex Ovechkin lists Washington Capitals. 3.2 implied total for the Flames, 3.0 for the Caps. Mike Smith going up against Braden Holtby. News and notes here.
Yeah, so the first and obvious one is that Ovechkin's serving his suspension for the All-Star break. Chandler Stephenson,
I think.
Stevenson?
Yeah.
He's on the top line with Backstrom and Oshie. I checked into like his individual stats just sort of to see like if he was maybe a defensive upgrade over the normally horrible off Ovechkin, but he's not. He's allowing huge amount of chances just on his own, 14 high danger chances against per 60. So yeah, that's pretty much it from the Washington side. And then from the Calgary side, Matthew Tkachuk moves back up to the second line. He'd switched spots with James Neal, I think, for a couple games. So back to normal. Calgary's like assembled their Frolik Backlund Tkachuk checking line, which I'm guessing has some implications for hard matching tonight.
Well, they're on the road as well. So
will they try to get them out against the Backstrom line?
If Ovechkin was playing, I think they might try a little bit of that, but. Yeah. I'm okay. First of all, I'm like probably biased. I'm not worried about the Caps really. Ovechkin's awesome.
That's fair.
Stevenson, dude can fly. I mean, sure, but I don't think he's an offensive defensive upgrade for the Caps. Maybe a little bit, but like that Backstrom line has been pretty bad defensively. The Kuznetsov line has been super high event. So generate a ton, give up a ton. So for me, like. I don't know that people are going to pay up for Calgary 1. I think they're going to come in under-owned. They're my highest raw point stack of the night. So I'm going to have like 15, 18% of them. And I think that's going to be like double the field, which I'm pretty excited about. They've been one of the best lines in the NHL. Full power play correlation. The Caps give up a ton of high danger chances. They're
Holtby's
missing one of
terrible.
their best players. Yeah, Holtby, he's hot and cold. I'm just not worried about the Caps at any strength. Like, even strength, they're bad. Penalty kill, they're bad. They take a bunch of penalties. It just seems like such a good spot for Calgary. So I'm all over the top line. And I think the second line's probably going to be somewhat popular as a filler stack, which makes sense because of the matchup they're probably going to get. Yeah. The Backlund line.
Yeah. Yeah, they're like fairly reasonably priced, right?
Yep. So it's 4,800 for Backlund, 45 for Frolik, and then 63 for Tkachuk.
Terrible grades, but for Calgary too from Osmo.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with those. But like the value, yeah, okay. So the value grades for Calgary 1 for sure. Like that's understandable. Although I have them as a little bit better of value than Alex does. So I'm gonna end up probably with more Calgary 1 than Alex will. But I'm sure he'll end up at the top of the leaderboards at the end of the night anyways. What else in this game? Do you like that Cap side? Do you like that second line, or are you going with Stevenson?
Yeah, just like Kuznetsov price is just so low on DraftKings. Like he's down to 5K, which is I don't think I can remember seeing him here at that price maybe in the last year and a half since the beginning of last season. Maybe he was priced that low. So Caps 2 is a little bit decent. It's not quite cheap enough to sort of be that second line stack to fill with a top line. So that's kind of a bit of a detriment to them, but I don't hate that line. But yeah, I totally agree with your Calgary 1 take, especially if that's the ownership that you project for them.
Just logically, like Tampa 1's cheaper, Buffalo 1's at home, they're cheaper. In a perceived very good matchup, in reality, very good matchup. You've got both Pittsburgh lines who are way cheaper. You can't really fit them. Yeah, Toronto too. I like Detroit's top line a bunch. Like there's just a bunch of lines that I think logically everyone's going to have kind of ahead of them. And especially if you're using an optimizer, they might get a little bit lost in the shuffle. So I'm hoping that's the case because I'm hopefully going to end up way over the field on Calgary 1 here.
I like it. Do you have what's your optimizer spitting out for? Like, do you have any line combos that it's you like in particular with them tonight?
Yeah, here let me look. All right, so it's not super pretty when you stack them up, and especially if you're trying to get in Giordano. there's like these wild depth lines. Pretty much all the wild lines fit with them. You can go with the Ben line in Dallas. You can go with some of the Florida lines depending on what they look like. So you're going to have to get in like some second and third lines with Calgary 1, and that's also going to push people off of them unless you don't want to jam in Giordano. So just depends on what you like. I like to force in Giordano when I can, when it makes sense. So that's what I'll be doing, and just hoping I can hit on one of these second or third lines that are cheap with them.
Oh, yeah. So that's, I guess, the defenseman you like, Giordano and Carlson. Are those your two guys?
Giordano for sure. He's going to be my highest exposed guy in the night. And then Carlson I'll have in one-offs, and especially if I get to this Kuznetsov line. But not as substantial as the Giordano that I will have tonight. Anything
Makes
else
sense.
Here?
I'm just checking up the Flames home road splits. They're pretty good.
All the Flames. Let's see. Go Dono. Yep, I agree with you. Got to get this win. Loves Washington. Really? Which Washington line do you like? Huh. I'm like, if I had to choose a line, I just don't know if Washington will, like, how they're going to match their lines. Would you really want the Kuznetsov line that they know is not good defensively going up against Monahan, Gaudreau, and Lindholm? Like, would that make any sense? Or do they just try to shut him down with Backstrom? But then that leaves the Kuznetsov line going up against Backlund. So I'm a little bit torn on what to do with Washington.
Yeah, they definitely do have some probably pretty standard home run splits, I guess. But they haven't been as bad as, like, say, the lines we were talking about last night, like Boston won and Winnipeg won on the road. So
yeah, any of these other, like, punt defensemen, Orlov, or I don't even
know.
No,
Orlov's back with. Sorry, that was one other note. He's back with Niskanen. So I know Homercle's talked a lot about how Orlov's chances are crazy good with Carlson. He's like Bobby Orr. And then as soon as you put him with Niskanen, he turns into a defensive defenseman. So I'll be fading him. And then just not a lot of depth D here that I like. Carlson rates out really well for Osmo, which is interesting.
Yep. Don't play goalies versus Washington has to go out the window with Ovechkin out. Yeah, I'm generally not really worried about playing goalies against Washington. They're usually priced down, especially when Washington's at home. So Steve was big on that, but he kind of backed off of that, I think, in recent weeks. Just based on how DK has reacted with the pricing. So I guess you'd probably have to ask him about that. All right. So that being said, like, I will have some Mike Smith. Holtby, I had one Holtby lineup in my last crunch, so would not say I'm on him.
Yeah.
We good there?
I agree.
What we got? 2 more games? 3 more games?
3 more.
3 more. All right. All right, we've got the Toronto Maple Leafs going up against the Detroit Red Wings. 3.6 implied total for Toronto on the road. 3 implied total for the Red Wings. Looks like it's going to be Frederik Andersen going up against likely Jimmy Howard. What do we have for news and notes? Looks like some new lines for Toronto here.
Are they new lines? I thought they were the same lines they used last time.
Did they use them once last time?
They used them once. I think it was Matthews and Marner last game.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So 1 game sample size. Just that Andreas Janssen is back for the Leafs. He's on the 4th line in the power play 2. Jake Muzzin makes his debut. He's not on either power play, but he is going to play with Morgan Riley. He's priced up a little bit, though, so I don't know if he's exactly viable. And then on the other side, Tyler Bertuzzi is out for a couple games for the Red Wings, which means the probably 7th worst player in the NHL, Justin Abdelkader, gets a spot on Detroit 1 tonight. He's like literally top 5 in the worst NHL in generating chances over the past month, so you got to downgrade that line a little bit. And then Dennis Cholowski is back in for the Red Wings as well. I believe he is on the power play 2, and your boy Frans Hronek is down in the minors.
There we have it. All right, so the line matching here, I think we're going to see Larkin go up against the Matthews-Marner combo. Just seems like the best all-around line that they would face. And I really like both sides of that. I really love the Larkin line. I hate Advocator on it, but he is min salary. He does get assists from time to time, and you're hoping the line goes off anyways. It's like it is just an Advocator. He could certainly get left off, but for $2,500, I'm going to take that risk that he somehow gets in on the scoring if Detroit 1 ends up scoring a couple goals here. I just love the spot for Larkin and Nyquist. They've been awesome together. Really, whoever's been on their wing, whether it's Bertuzzi or even Advocator, just create a ton of chances. And then you look at what the Matthews line or Matthews-Marner have done in their short sample, been pretty bad defensively. And yeah, it is a short sample, but we've got a pretty big sample on Matthews himself, just being not a great defensive player just yet. I don't know if that'll come in his game at some point, but it's not there right now. I just wouldn't expect this line to be very solid defensively, so I think we're going to see a lot of trading chances here with both of these teams' top 2 lines, hoping they go up against each other. What do you got here, Nolan?
Yeah, I guess that I kind of like. I think like the field's maybe going to be overweight on Toronto, maybe a little bit, just because they're. I don't know. They got the new acquisition, and I think like Muzzin will probably be owned because people are just going to want to own him. I noted last game when the Leafs were playing, they've been playing really well as a team over the past month. They're like tops in the league and like high. I'm not seeing these stats right now, but I swear I looked them up earlier and they were just like killing it in terms of their ratios. There it is, like number 1 in scoring chances for. Oh, that's true. Yeah, in the last 10 games.
They've been really good.
Yeah. So. But they haven't been converting. Their shooting percentage is low. So I do think that they're due for probably some positive regression just as a team. That we saw that last game with the third line who's been snake bit for a while, and Nylander as well. So the price points, the problem with Toronto is that I think you have I guess it's really with Marner on that top line, you're probably going to that top line because Tavares' line mates are I'm not exactly sold on the Connor Brown.
Mm-hmm.
Who else is on his wings?
Kapanen and Hyman.
Kapanen and Hyman. And then Connor Brown on the third line. That weakens them a little bit. It was it Marleau before? Or was it?
It was Marleau, but when they had the big game when Kadri had the hat trick, I think it was Connor Brown actually on that line.
Connor Brown? Yeah, It was Connor Brown. Yeah. So that maybe, I think that like 1 and 3 as kind of a slower price pivot, I guess, though the prices are coming up a little bit. And 1 is definitely your. It seems like they've, that's a pretty solidified top line to go to. So I don't know how popular they're going to be tonight, but I like them a lot. And then, I guess Detroit's decent. I don't know. I'm expecting Toronto to just start turning it on here a little bit in the second half. So I'm not hugely on them, but obviously the numbers point to Detroit 1 being a great play.
Yeah. So Detroit 1's going to be my main exposure from this game. I'm trying to look up, see, is Detroit 2 even viable? They just don't generate a lot of great chances. It's just Mantha with 2 guys I don't really want to play.
Power play 1.
Yeah.
Their prices are up, though. So Nielsen's up to 4,400 on DK and 4,000 for Vanek. So, it was a lot nicer to get those guys when they were $3,000, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing, too. Is Vanek's not min salary anymore. Mantha's price has come up. Nielsen, he's whatever for me. I don't know why they don't put Athanasiou in a top 6 role. You're going nowhere. You're Detroit.
No.
Put him with Larkin.
He's so talented. Can you imagine him on that top line? What are you thinking? Why are you putting Abdelkader with those 2 and not Athanasiou?
Abdelkader's got some nudes of someone in the Detroit front office.
Right?
He's got something on someone. Yeah. Helm too. Oh god. Yeah, it's bad.
So strange. So strange. As a one-off, I think Athanasiou is probably not a bad play just because his line mates are so terrible and that guy can just generate on his own, right?
It seems like he gets a breakaway every single game, Athanasiou. He's probably cherry picking a lot, but why wouldn't you when you're playing with Luke Glendening and Darren Helm? Other lines in this game, I thought I would get to more. Toronto 3, I'm not really getting there. Tavares, if you're bulleting, I guess Tavares is fine. He's probably going to get the better even strength matchup, avoid Larkin and such. But just I don't think a ton of talent with him just yet. Kapanen's probably going to be good at some point, but Hyman, kind of know my deal on him. When he's with Marner and he's 4K and Tavares, that's fine as a throw-in, but I don't know.
I think Nylander Kadri is that's a pretty nice price point, actually. You get that whole line. You get that whole line for like $12,000.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
And off the top of my head, I think Detroit 3 has really bad numbers. Actually, not. They give up quite a few high danger chances, but they're not that terrible. As terrible as I expected.
Do we have to get out of here too?
No, we're good. No, we can go a few extra minutes. I'm sure people were just waiting for us to talk about hockey over these last 10 days. So we can go past a couple minutes here.
Nice.
All right. Any Mike Green or Nick Kronwall or Morgan Riley?
Nah, maybe some Morgan Riley, but that's about it. I don't really have much. I guess like Mike Green's not a bad price. Top power play unit, 20 minutes.
He's on the second unit unless you saw something different.
I think he's back on isn't he on the top unit?
He's listed on the second.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So.
Oh, it's still Kronwall. Oh.
Yeah.
Kronwall's a great punt though. I think still 2,800. It's 22 minutes a game, power play time. Like I know he's not high advance or anything, but like he's still like even if you look at his stats over the last 10 games or so, he's still like there's still about a third of the games where he's fantasy viable. Right. So at that price, I think he's definitely one of the better sub 3K throw-ins tonight.
Like I guess my thing with Kronwall is just like, is he ever gonna hurt you if you fade him? Like, is he ever gonna get like 7 or 8 DK points?
No, right. But who is in that range though? That's the point. Like, is there any $2,800 defenseman that's gonna get 7 or 8 DK points?
No,
like,
but like I'd play like Ricola or like Pedersen and find the extra $200 to $400. Just like I don't know, Kronwall, and it's not like he skates with the Larkin line at all, or more than any other line. Like it looks like they spread it out pretty evenly when they're at home. So
yeah, you're right. Like find the $400 and get up a little bit. It's probably not a bad idea. But if there's something you love, I guess like
I don't know that like because I'm seeing Kronwall come up in my crunches a little bit here. And I'd almost rather just because I have like power play one, like I want to get in power play one quarterbacks, and I guess he's technically that, but like I might just make the manual change and just throw Mike Green in as the top power play guy, as the guy I'll stack with them, because
Ricola's been great too.
Yeah, like there's just way better. Kronwall doesn't shoot, so it's just like no goal equity. If he gets a couple of assists, like what is he gonna get? 5 DK points?
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's true.
Like that's like his ceiling of the ceiling. It seems like. So.
Just take Yakovlev if he's on the slate.
Yeah, that was a good call by you. All right, let's go to the next game here. We've got the Vegas Golden Knights and the Carolina Hurricanes. 3 implied total for both teams. Maxime Lagacé going up against Peter Mrazek, and I don't really have anything on this game. I don't know about you, Nolan.
Oh, I just realized I called him Manny Legacy in my
close enough.
article today. Old habits die hard. Yes. So I kind of like Riley Smith back for the Knights tonight. He's expected to. He's a game time call, but he's expected to go. Yeah, Justin Williams also was out this morning, but I think it was just a family matter he had to deal with, and he's also expected to play. Then Brendan Peary is down on the third line with Eakin, and then the newly waiver acquired Valentin Zykov. So that's an intriguing line, but Peary is priced so high that I think it's just going to result in, it's just not a good value, but it's also going to be like sub 1% owned. So that's something to consider. And then Vegas won back together, which is also intriguing. And on the Carolina side, I think everything's the same as their last game. I don't know. I don't really have any strong takes on this one. I kind of think Vegas is a bit of a sneaky play tonight.
Yeah, I thought I was going to get some Vegas when I was looking at it this morning, just trying to predict what what's going to come up in my crunches, or which teams are going to be heavy on. I thought I'd get to more Vegas. This Carolina one line with Niederreiter and Aho and Williams, I know they have great results, but the underlying numbers in their first couple games are incredible. That being said, they're probably a little bit too expensive. I don't know that they're going to keep this up. They would probably be the line, if I was making a big stand on the Carolina line, they would probably be the one that I would go to. I think the third line is a little bit interesting for Carolina, just price-wise. If you're trying to jam in Calgary 1 and Giordano, like taking a third line with Svechnikov, I think is not the worst idea in the world if you're MMEing.
No, I always like these middle six Carolina lines. They always seem to generate chances, and they're always underpriced, probably because they don't finish. But
right, they had one game where they scored all their goals. They scored like 4 goals that one game earlier in the season.
Yeah, wasn't it like none of them had assists either or something? But
they just.
I do like, and like the Martinook, if Martinook, Walmark, and Svechnikov ever get reunited, I'll be all over it. But it's just kind of like kind of all over the place. I know that Carolina 3 rates out pretty well for Osmo, so yeah, I wouldn't mind. Like that's like in the $10,000 range. That's probably one of your better bet low owned stacks to pair with some chalkier line.
Yeah, so that they're just a filler stack. That's it. I just wanted to make sure I mentioned them. In case I take it down with my sick Calgary 1, Carolina 3. I'm not getting to really any Vegas. Am I wrong there? Like, am I missing something?
Well, I don't know. Yeah, like I kind of think that at least with Riley Smith still listed on the DL, you're going to get a huge ownership discount on them, and then you have full power play 1 correlation. So I think like in a vacuum they're probably not like a great play, but just with the fact that they're going to be like 5% owned and they're reasonably priced, I like them tonight.
Sure. Yeah. I don't know. I'm like if they go off, I'm okay with that. I've got to make some stands somewhere. So I love Vegas 1. I think they're a great line. I think they're well priced. There's too many other lines in that range that I'm prioritizing ahead of them. And then same thing with Vegas 2. So this is another one I hope stays pretty quiet. What about defensemen here? Be back on Dougie Hamilton at 4,800 or any of these mid-tier Vegas guys?
I know that Hamilton rates out really well for Osmo, and he's been kind of starting to see a little bit of regression lately. 6.5 DK points. He's goals in 2 straight games, so I think that's a pretty strong play, even though his minutes are down a little bit. All 3 of those top sort of Carolina defensemen are usually somewhat viable. And then I think Vegas has probably pretty. Do they still have strong home road splits this season?
Vegas?
Yeah.
I think they're pretty much the same offensively, both ways. Just defensively, they just really kick it up.
Defensively, way stingier at home, right?
Yeah.
So there you go. So that's probably something to consider because generally speaking, they haven't been allowing a lot of points to defensemen this year. But I think that Carolina D is valuable and always reasonably priced. It's a weird game, right? Like I don't think it's going to garner a lot of ownership, but I think if you have a strong stand on it, you can get overweight on the field pretty easily.
Sure.
And I did like Carolina 1 too. I agree with you, but they're so expensive. Like Aho's 7,000, Niederreiter's already 52, Williams is 47. I was expecting like that line to come in $2,000 cheaper.
And Carolina just does a good job of like dominating possession or at least like shot attempts. So they don't give up a lot. Vegas doesn't give up a lot. So I'm hoping it's kind of one of those cancel out games where the scoring is at least somewhat spread out. Just avoid the nut line in that game.
Yeah.
All right, last game of the night, probably a lot of people's least interesting game of the night. The Minnesota Wild and the Dallas Stars. We had a 2.6 implied total for the Wild, 2.8 for the Stars. Devin Dubnyk going up against Ben Bishop. New Dallas lines, not new. I guess we saw them last time out. Anything else in this game of note, Nolan?
I think the lines are the same. There's one change on like Dallas 3. Dickinson's out, and I can't remember who's replacing him because it doesn't matter because they're terrible and we won't be rostering him. Oh, Nichushkin's in, so I don't even know what that is.
He'll play like 4 minutes.
I don't know what's up with that guy. I don't know if like that hip surgery derailed him, but man,
yeah,
what a disappointment. So we have the Dallas Stars top line with Fax and Como, who are just basically useless, and then like Matthias Janmark's probably one of the best values on the slate. Was Brett Ritchie on the power play last game? Do you know?
And it looks like he's on there right now. I'm just waiting for Brett Ritchie to get up with Sagan and Ben or Sagan and Radulov at some point. It always happens. The last couple of years.
They didn't go back to the Dallas, the traditional stacked Dallas one last game though, right?
Nope, not at all.
So that's usually when they're losing in the third kind of thing?
Yes. They were trying to hold on to a lead, whatever, it was working. Maybe they give it another shot tonight. I still don't think you're out of the water. I still think you can use Sagan, Radulov, and Ben together if you want to force that in on FC or whether you're hand building or whatever. But Janmark's fine, and he's 2,800. and you saw him play a full game with Sagan and Radulov, them winning that game. So as long as things don't go crazy bad for them right off the bat, like, he's probably going to stick there for at least 10 to 12 minutes.
Yeah.
So I'm less worried about Janmark than I would be if I hadn't seen what happened last game for Dallas.
And then again, we have that same continuing narrative of the team that's played recently versus the team that hasn't played in a while. So Dallas 2 to me is technically Dallas 1, I would say, is a little bit sneaky, I think, tonight, and we'll probably go on their own. But I don't love them as a. What's that?
The Faxel line?
No, the Sagan
okay.
line.
I think they'll be somewhat of a popular filler stack, or like if people go double mid tier with like Buffalo 1. I'm gonna
say sub 10%.
I think I'd maybe go. Yeah, I think that's a good number actually. Maybe like if it's 8 or 12, I wouldn't be shocked.
Because the thing is, like, just DK wise, like, Minnesota doesn't allow a lot of points to opposing players, and they've actually been so stingy defensively, right? Minnesota lately.
Yeah, they're probably better than what their record states they are. Just overall, but
they've allowed the least amount of scoring chances in the NHL over the last 10 games by like a decent margin too. 204 scoring chances in their last 10 games.
Well, that's really good actually.
Least amount of high danger chances as well, but in the next closest is they've had 76 high danger chances against in the last 10 games. Next closest is the Maple Leafs at 89. So I'm expecting this to be a pretty dull, low event, 2-1 kind of game.
Yeah, I think that's going to be pretty popular. I just like looking at this matchup. I don't like the Wild that much when I just take a glance, but the pricing for all these players, it seems like almost everyone's underpriced on their team except for maybe Parise. I think they got his price right, but like his line mates both get power play time as well, and 2,800 and 3,900. So they're coming up for me as filler stacks. Mostly the Koivu line, but the Rask line is right behind them. So
now the Koivu, I hadn't looked into this, but the Koivu line's been really good, right? Chances.
Let's see where they're at.
I thought they'd just been like snake bit, like they had like a really low shooting percentage together, but they've been just be Koivu. But you'd expect Granlund and Zucker to.
No, they're definitely good. I mean, 28 scoring chances, 11.3 high danger per 60. That's pretty good.
Yeah. So I think that's probably another one of your best bet cheap lines that you can fit in with a top line that won't be super highly owned.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know that this game's going to decide the slate, but I do have some exposure to Minnesota 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Just because I have 100 lineups, so I've got stuff to play with. And then the Sagan line, I agree with you, is my favorite here.
Yeah.
Klingberg, I also like at 5,300. I think that's just a good price individually for him. Guy that attempts quite a few shots, correlates to Sagan, Ben, and Radulov, their best players.
Actually, he's got like really good numbers over his last 10 games. He's just like killed me so many nights this year. But you're probably right. That's probably a pretty strong correlation play.
I mean, he kind of goes as Sagan, Ben, and Radulov have gone the last couple seasons. So you haven't seen these like monster performances from Dallas. So you're probably not going to from Klingberg.
Which is strange because now they basically got 3 puck-moving defensemen, and like I'm just kind of surprised that they haven't been able to put anything together.
Yeah, I have been as well, and I've paid the price for it. So we'll see.
You can't be right all the time, Jake.
Yeah, that would be pretty crazy. All right, well, that's gonna wrap up the show. We did a little over an hour. If you guys are still watching this, we appreciate you. Please give us a like. It would help us continue to do this. Likes help us directly and indirectly. So thank you for watching. Nolan, you got anything else before we head out of here?
We got nothing. What do we got for the slate tomorrow?
I think there's 10 or 11 games. It's going to be a good size one. So
nice. All right. Well, enjoy that Super Bowl, everyone. Don't party too hard.
Yeah, get those showdown lineups in.
Can't wait. I'm also, if you're into football, I'm going to be posting an article just a little bit later today analyzing Chipotle Addict's showdown slate strategy. So just a continuing series that we're doing about analyzing a DFS pro at Osmo.
Someone just said Malkin's out. That is true. Okay. Yeah, Malkin's out. So
what?
Keep an eye on Pittsburgh lines. I don't know that we're going to get any clarification before lock.
2 minutes ago
Okay.
from the Penguins Twitter account.
Yeah, good catch there, Andrew. That's
nice. So it's only 2 o'clock. You're probably not going to see enough of like people will get their lineups out, but he'll still be like 3% owned.
Yeah.
Advantage Pittsburgh. Just wait for those line combos to come in. Fill out your lineups right before lock.
Yeah, this is probably going to be one of those nights where you've got the Florida lines and if you said slots in there, that'd be interesting. But anyways,
huge advantage to doing that.
We'll talk about this in Premium Slack once we get more information. Thanks for joining, guys. Please remember, give us a like if you did enjoy this, and we will probably be back tomorrow. See you later.